And let's get it started. What did you guys think of the SNL monologue that Elon Musk did and was just released?
I'll start us off. I think it was on Kiko's point. It was really good. I think he had comedic timing. He pointed out a lot of issues that he was funnier than a lot of the hosts that I've seen. Like I think he had it on point. You can, and the biggest extension, if you want to see like how good he was, when they put his mom on, you can see that she didn't have the same timing that he did, and that right there kind of shows like this guy's funny. Like it's always easier to compare when you have a contrast, but I think he did a good job, and I want to go into a few pieces of them, but I'll give John Heido's advice here, Big J. Let him give us a little bit.
Well, bro, I enjoyed it. I did feel like he had some appreciation of the timing as far as comedy is concerned, but it did seem oddly robotic. The way he delivered those jokes. Yeah, the timing was there, but there's no fluctuation of the voice. No, like it's all set in the same tone, and it seems to me like it's clearly being read. Like he already prepared all this up front, and he's just reading it in his mind the way that it should be said. Sometimes the timing is there, sometimes the timing isn't, and it's evident in the way that it came out.
I think that from what you're saying, he's like he read this, which I think this was material that was written for him, and it's not unusual for this to happen. But when you say like, oh, he was monotonous in his tone and all these things, he mentioned these things. So for me, this is how I felt. I felt like Eminem in 8 Mile when he's telling the people when he's rapping the battles, he's telling them his flaws, and it almost seems like when I was like, what? Monologue by Elon Musk, this is really happening. When I pressed play, I really did not have an idea how he was gonna make this work without it being awkward and weird. Because whenever he's been on Rogan, he's fucking weird, right? So it seemed like he did the perfect. I don't know if this was coached, but however it happened, I think that he had a great way of embracing the shit that we already think of him as weird and fucking awkward to make it funny. So like, you remember when he was like, well, he talked about like, I'm the first person to be here with Asperger, and you're like, he's embracing the fact that he talks weird, right? That he has this awkward timing, which funny enough, he had great timing for the jokes. So I think I think he used that to his favor. The things that would go against him, he sort of used that to, you know.
So that's good thing you brought it up there, Kiko, because that's what I wanted to go into to like. So when he said Asperger's, I think I myself, I didn't know what Asperger's was. So I had to Google it. And as we're always teaching our fans here, we're going to give you a definition. So that way you guys know, just in case you didn't want to take the time to Google it. So on Wikipedia, so it's Asperger's syndrome, also known as Asperger's, is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by significant difficulties in social interaction and nonverbal communication, along with restricted and repetitive patterns of behavior and interests. So that's just a very kind of simple idea. So you're socially awkward just by being like Asperger's. Another piece that it says like it is an autism spectrum disorder. So you're on the spectrum, but it differs from the other disorders because it's relatively unimpaired language and intelligence. So like you're on the spectrum, you have it, like you're a little bit more socially awkward, but your language and intelligence is there. And this guy's a billionaire, so it's clearly not affecting him to that level. He's living with it, and I said, yeah, as you guys go on, I think the writers hit him really well with the correct jokes for him, whoever wrote that for him, because he said it monotonely, but it hit. Because I'm pretty sure you guys have listened to like very monotone comedians that hit
kill
because they're monotone. Like the way the joke is written is just keep it. Like stern face, joke hits.
Like if you guys remember Mitch Hedberg, he would have, I'm pretty sure you all heard him, right? Mitch Hedberg back in the day.
Yeah.
Like his jokes was monotonous, but that made it funnier because he was wackier. So yeah, sorry, go on. I didn't want you to get lost, but I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So the writers and when you know who you are as a person, you can hit jokes because comedy is more than timing. It's more than changing your monotones. So like to me, because he Asperger's, I guess he used it to his advantage to hit the points. Like we're gonna go into like one of my favorite jokes on there. He hit really well to me was when he's talking about, as Kiko said, so he's smoking weed on Joe Rogan's podcast, and everyone thinks that, oh, this is all Elon Musk does. He just goes on podcasts. He can come on this podcast and smoke weed. That's fine. But that's all he does. He goes on podcasts and he smokes weed. And it's like everybody's reducing to one thing. And then he goes into, it's like reducing OJ to murder. And it hit. I think the audience hit. It hit to me. He hit the next level joke.
Yo, when he said that joke, I literally laughed like as if like a badass comedian that's been doing this for 20 years was saying a joke. Like that shit killed so hard, so fucking hard. In my opinion, that was, it's like reducing, because he only did it one time.
See, do you see? That's why to me, it hit so well. It's like when you have a joke set up and he hit you with misdirection. He hit you with like, oh, it's only once, but it was great. And then he still didn't tell us what his kid's name is. It's like, oh, this is my kid's name, also known as cat running across keyboard. I don't know how to pronounce his kid's name. Do you guys?
No. And I think it was actually, do you guys find it to be heartwarming? Like he brings in his mom and yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was nice all the way through, like that. The monologue for me, it was heartwarming. It had everything, that I don't know. It just made me happy. It was super funny. It was edgy, and it made someone that was weird embrace that weirdness and make them super funny. And whoever wrote it, I mean, I'm pretty sure that he had something to do with it. The whole combination of things, I thought was great. You mentioned, Tavo, that you sort of earlier when the mom came, you noticed how good he was on the timing because of how, or I think John said it, because how off she was on the timing, right? The mom.
Yes, that was me. So
it almost felt like she's the one that had the Asperger.
Wow.
She was pretty bad on it, but it was a heartwarming moment, I think. So just going back to the Asperger thing, so pretty much it just has to do with social awkwardness.
Correct. So it's social interaction and intelligence. So you're still intelligent when you have Asperger's. You're socially awkward. For example, like if you're at a party or in a social setting, you don't really know how to behave. You're usually like by yourself in a sense. There's no like, the way to better explain this, like you've been to like an event where like you see usually this person would be by themselves in a sense, just because they're not really talking to anybody. They are not going to be the life of the party in a sense. Like they're not going to, if you've been somebody that can work the room, if you're a host, like you go from one set of people to another set of people and like you make jokes, you make this, you do that. Like that's the type of like just social persona that you would have. But somebody that would have like this Asperger's syndrome wouldn't do that. Like it's just not something that comes natural to them. I would assume they have to work on it. Not saying it's not possible for them to get to that level.
Is that in the spectrum of autism?
It is in the spectrum. So like Asperger's syndrome is in the spectrum of the autism spectrum disorder.
Okay.
From Wikipedia. So like,
and do you think that here. Elon Musk? We're not bringing here motherfuckers out making up shit. You know what I mean? We already got me and BJ for that every week. Shit. When we bring experts, they're fucking experts. You know what I mean? This guy has Wikipedia on log, Yahoo Answers on log. This guy has it. Oh. All right? Ask Jeev. You guys remember Ask Jeev? Maybe you're too young for that shit. If you don't know who Ask Jeev is, maybe you have a TikTok account and you do little dances in the weekend. Okay, so do you think Elon Musk expressed the Asperger symptoms or not symptoms but qualities like on his monologue? Like did that come through?
To me, I didn't think so. If he didn't say it and the way the jokes were written, I couldn't tell. Just because I'm laughing at everything he's saying. I see the contrast between him and his mom. if he didn't go into specifically saying like, I'm gonna run my human and emulation and try to be a human here, I would say this is just a regular guy doing his bit, having a good time. I wouldn't be able to tell, and which is a good thing, I guess. In general, like if you have like I'm always a supporter of helping people in general, but if you have the Asperger's, like, don't feel bad at all about it. Like, you got a billionaire here who has the same. You can also be a billionaire if you have the syndrome. Like, there's no thing about it. And
give me Asperger's, maybe I'll fucking succeed at some shit.
You might. I think it's more of like play to your strengths. So, like, and I saw that, and that's what he did in the jokes. Like, he played to these type of jokes that are gonna be in his strengths. Like, he couldn't do other type of jokes like Fluffy, right? Fluffy does all these jokes with, like, he makes like different voices, he makes like car sound, that sort of thing. Like, that's his type of crazy jokes. He couldn't do that. So if
Comedy
you're not gonna, if you can't hit those jokes, so you got to hit the jokes that you can hit. If you're the straight man, if you're these type of things that are monotone, like, use your strengths.
Okay, but then, wouldn't you say, and I want your opinion as well, BJ, wouldn't you say that even though he recognized that, okay, I have Asperger's, and you're saying that you're not noticing that through his act, I mean, he still does the little weird faces that, like expressions where you're like, is this guy a serial killer? I mean, is this guy gonna become a villain? I mean, I'm team Elon Musk all the way. I don't care if it takes us, to the destruction of humanity itself. I'm going with it. But he could turn into that villain just because of the little looks that he does. Obviously, the Asperger thing makes it a bit more understandable as to why that might be. Did you notice the joke where he actually, I'm almost certain that he played to the fact that he knows people think it's weird that he does those weird faces, because he said some joke, I don't remember what it was, but it went along the lines of like, people think I'm weird or something, and then he's like, I don't know why, and then he just keeps looking, he kept doing it. I don't know if you remember that part. And it made me feel like, even though he's playing to it and he is embracing it, he is definitely, I do think it comes through. I think it still comes out great, and it's a great comedy. But what do you think, BJ? Do you feel that you do feel it?
Bro, I did feel it all the way through. I ended up watching the rest of the skits, and it feels throughout the entire process of the show that the more he gets involved, the more it comes out. The sense of like, it's like not being able to interact socially, in like social settings of that kind, where he's constantly he's self-aware of what he has, but at the same time is completely unaware of where he is. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, so you do think that does play out. You can see it. You can feel that awkwardness, even on the monologue that he did so well on. You could still feel that.
Totally. It's, to me, the deeper it got into the episode, the more cringe I felt, because of how much it would be displayed, like the sense of his tics, his mannerisms, the monotone, he was so fixated. I think he was more fixated on the timing and saying the joke correctly at the correct time than he was aware of his surroundings. Because for the most part, when I see him on camera, he's looking at the cue card, like, without a doubt. Like, I understand that you have to look at it to be able to know what you're saying, like what's your next line. But there have been people that I have done it, and you can't tell that they're reading from a cue card. Other people, straight up, you can tell. But I think the fact that he has Asperger's doesn't help him in that scenario, because one of the things about Asperger's is that they get hyper fixated on objects. So I don't know.
Yeah, but like, even more to my point, mm-hmm. of him doing it. Well, I'm not saying that this is against what you said, but just furthermore, what I felt from it is that he did amazing, even if he didn't have Asperger's, right? He did amazing for just being a techie, fucking freaky guy. Like, you're not expecting a guy, right? Like takes Asperger's away. Just the fact that this guy made PayPal, fucking Tesla, and all this shit. He's taking ships to the moon. We're gonna be living in Mars in no time because of this guy. And then you telling me, oh no, he's gonna host the SNL and actually do a bit where that almost feels like this is a professional comedian. To me, that alone was just like, damn. Like, I straight up thought this shit was gonna be some weird ass trolling thing where he was gonna have fun himself, but everybody else was just gonna feel cringe, you know? And he actually made it work. Now let's move on to the next part when he does the bit. The bit that we saw is when he does the news, you know, with Michael Che, which is the black comedian, which is he's great. And so he's doing like the news, and he's like the economy expert or the cryptocurrency like expert. So he brings him in. Here is when I think you could see a little bit more of the trolley part, less controlled, a bit more weird. Especially with the fucking Dogecoin shit, like. But nevertheless, me that I don't like SNL, I thought the whole bit was funny. It was like, all right, but so what is it? Like, it did make fun of the fact that like all these trading people today are talking about all these things, but then you're like, what is it? And then they just give you this vague explanation at the end. It's like, oh, it's a hustle. Okay, yeah, you just tell me that it's a hustle. So yeah, tell me your thoughts on that.
So for this piece, this is where I think he's manipulating us as a society. This is where I think he turns to, and I'll explain what I'm talking about. So, so I work with other people that buy Tesla stock, that buy Dogecoin, and buy these investments for Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk has been on like 60 Minutes and other news articles, like, where his tweet, his statement, his SNL appearance affects the stock price. So I say that, but I have to say this disclaimer. This is not financial advice. Don't listen to me. I'm an idiot. I say that disclaimer because you can't legally provide financial advice. So anybody listening to me better not do anything financial with this. So that's a thing. Like, you can't. So I'm going to save us all here. Don't listen to Kiko or John about financial advice. We don't know
Nobody.
anything.
No, I don't know.
Not just for this episode, ever.
Not financial advice. Life advice, sure, but financial advice, do not listen to us.
And even then, I mean, try at your own risk, you know?
Yeah, like disclaimers. So I say that. So that being said, so every time Elon Musk said something, like I think there was a point where he sent out a tweet that said stonks, and like Tesla shot up because he said something. So the fact that he brought up Dogecoin not once, but like multiple times this episode, he is affecting Dogecoin, like cryptocurrency.